Hi, welcome to the Teach for India Halla Bol prepping to the final series debate video 2. Today we're going to discuss the motion this house will allow soldiers to refuse to participate in military actions on the basis of morality. So let's start, right? So this debate is going to basically be about individual preference versus what's required of them to do in a collective sense, right? So on a moral compass, where does a person stand with respect to the action that he's going to commit, given that he's given a commitment to a particular authority of doing that action before knowing what the action is going to be about. The military action that we're talking about and the soldier refusing to do it is on an ideological level, right? So this is not about the soldier thinking that there's not enough support for his teammates, or this is not even about the soldier thinking that we haven't got enough training to do this. This is just about him thinking that there is something inherently wrong in committing the act without any other flaws, and therefore he himself in personal capacity is not ready to undertake this act, right? Also, to clarify, this is about refusing to participate in a particular action, but he wants to stick around in the military, maybe do any other operation, or maybe be a part of another cell of the military in general, right? But he does not want to leave the military, just wants to do this. Lastly, he's refusing to do this before the operation commences. So this is not happening in the middle of it. It's not that like if the operation is supposed to last 5 days and on the third day he's telling you that I'm not going to do this. That's not where it stands, right? So it's happening right after the debrief of the soldier is complete, and right after he understands everything that he's supposed to give into the operation is when he's taking the call and saying that I don't think this is the right thing to do, therefore I will not. And the debate is whether we should allow it or not, right? So yes, that you should allow him to refuse to take orders. Let's get to the points, right? So the first would be just following orders are the building blocks of a military, of course, but there is a personal responsibility to the action that the soldier is committing as well, right? And the conscience pertaining to the soldier extends only to him. Therefore, the suffering because of the conscience is also going to extend only to him. So tomorrow, if I think that I've done something wrong, I'm the one who's going to suffer, not the operation, not the army, and nobody else, right? And therefore, I should have the right to refuse. An extension to this argument is also about the mental trauma that they carry, right? And we see that happen a lot in these days, where like soldiers are sort of downtrodden and distressed because of the kind of things that they're asked to do. A part of that psychological effect is of course pertaining to the gory things that they see that normal people are not exposed to, but most of it could also be argued is because of the constant moral battles that they're fighting, and therefore they get tired after a point in time and need psychological support in that sense, right? So that's the second argument of mental trauma. The third would be the productivity of a soldier, right? So think about it like this: if the soldier is not refusing, he goes into the act, probably does it well, comes back, he's still feeling guilty about it. So the chances are that he might just drop out of the army in the first place. Maybe he'll go bad mouthing about the army. Maybe he'll go leak some information to thinking that they're not doing anything and they're not doing anything right at all. And those are things that are dangerous. And therefore the productivity of a well-trained soldier, which could be well used by the army, actually is lost, and therefore that's a bad thing to do. So you should allow him to refuse so that you can retain him in the army and have him do things that he really wants to, because otherwise you'll have to kick him, otherwise you're kicking him out anyway, right? So that's the idea. Fourth thing would be, and very important, right, like the belief of the soldier in making the operation successful. So if the soldier inherently thinks that the operation is going to be a failure or a waste, then chances are that he's not going to do well in the operation in the first place, which will lead to a failure of the operation, and that is dangerous, right? Therefore you should allow him to tell you what he does not want to do, because otherwise you'll be stuck without reaching any end goal, right? This is again rather inconsequential, but orders that blow up the legal protection of the soldier. So if he's asked to, let's say, secretly infiltrate a particular country, and the government tells him that you have no backing after this from the government if you get caught, then he has the right to refuse. Although I'm not too sure, but I think that they already take that consent from the soldier. But in the event that they don't, he should be allowed to refuse it. That's the argument here, right? Moving to the no, he should always follow orders set of arguments, right? The first is orders are the building blocks of a military because they are the ones that enforce discipline. So the moment you allow soldiers to um, sort of take choices and like make calls on things that they want to or don't want to do, you're entering uncharted territory where there'll be more wrong than good, and therefore following orders cannot be replaced by anything at all in a military. If somebody else takes a decision for you, all you're expected to do is abide by the decision, right? um, Second would just be on information asymmetry, that a soldier does not know everything, or rather all implications of that operation. Therefore, he needs to trust higher authorities on it, because maybe there is a much a greater good that is coming out of it than the soldier can actually imagine, and therefore it's not possible to divulge all of that information to him, because the implications could be political, economic, like in different areas, right? And therefore the soldier, because he doesn't know everything, he does not have the right to refuse to participate in the action. Third would be the oath bit, like before you enter the military or before you are commissioned as an officer, you're expect you take an oath, and there's a tacit understanding between the government and your higher officials and you that you will always follow orders. That is something that you don't, if you don't tend to do, then I mean, it's a bad thing in terms of productivity for the military, because they're banking on you to do that, right? And that leads me to the other one, on the consequences of team members. So, because they're banking on you to do that, maybe you can't be replaced. If you're a specially trained officer, the chances are that nobody, like there are very few people who can replace you in the military, and therefore the operation itself has to be cancelled because of that one person, right? uh, Also, he's going to refuse after knowing what the operation is about, so he already knows the plans, and there's there's a danger that he will give those plans away, he or she for that matter, sorry. They will give those plans away to any other person, and that can again put the operation in danger. So the consequences of team members, and like therefore he should not be allowed to refuse, right? Lastly, the domino effect, where if one person stands up and says no, a lot of people will start doing that, maybe on grounds that are frivolous, maybe not, but those couldn't be challenged, and therefore the scope of misuse of such an act is a lot more. uh, so it will lead to a complete breakdown of the military, and that is not something that, of course, not something that the military wants. So that's pretty much what we have here. We hope you have fun doing this with your kids. Do reach out to us with comments, feedbacks, criticisms. Thanks.